True strength does not come from seeking approval from the world, but from discovering the vast reservoir of courage within yourself. A hero's journey isn't always a voyage to distant lands, it is often a quiet but profound return to the self, where you confront the truth of who you are. In this journey, the woman who became her own hero did not wait for a savior. She chose to rise, to rewrite her story, and to transform her struggles into stepping stones. Today we celebrate her path, a journey marked by courage, resilience, and the unwavering belief that true heroism lies within. Sometimes the most revolutionary act is simply to be yourself, unapologetically and without compromise. In a world that often demands conformity, where expectations weigh heavily and the noise of external opinions drowns out our inner voice, choosing authenticity becomes a quiet rebellion. It's not the kind of revolution marked by banners or loud declarations, but one that transforms lives in a far more profound and enduring way. The woman who becomes her own hero understands this. She does not need the world's permission to be herself, nor does she wait for someone else to write her story. She takes up the pen and with steady hands reclaims the narrative of her life. This quiet revolution begins in the most unassuming of ways by choosing to listen. To pause and ask, "Who am I?" beneath all the layers. She does not shy away from the discomfort of the question, because she knows that growth often requires confronting the parts of herself she has been taught to hide. Society may have tried to define her, labeling her as too much or not enough, assigning roles that suit its convenience, but she sees through these illusions. She understands that to live a life defined by others is to live a life half-lived, and so she embarks on the most courageous journey of all, the journey inward. In this revolution, she learns to embrace her imperfections. The world may celebrate polished perfection, but she knows that it is through her flaws, her scars, and her moments of vulnerability that her strength truly shines. Heroism, after all, is not about being invincible. It is about showing up for yourself even when you feel broken. It is about saying, "I will rise even when the weight of the world feels unbearable." Her quiet revolution teaches her that vulnerability is not weakness, but a profound act of courage. It is through the cracks that the light gets in. She begins to understand the power of saying no. No to the expectations that stifle her. No to the toxic relationships that drain her spirit. No to the voices, both internal and external, that tell her she is not enough. And with every no, she creates space for a louder, more resolute yes, yes to the dreams she has long buried, yes to the life she truly desires, yes to the person she is becoming. This act of reclaiming her voice, though it may seem simple, is revolutionary because it requires her to trust herself in a way she never has before. Her revolution is not about grand gestures. It is in the small, consistent choices she makes every day, choosing kindness when bitterness seems easier, choosing resilience when defeat whispers in her ear, choosing to show up for herself when the world expects her to disappear. These moments may go unnoticed by others, but she feels their impact deeply. Each choice strengthens her resolve, reminding her that the power she once searched for in others was within her all along. The woman who becomes her own hero does not wait for applause. Her victories are not always celebrated, nor are they always visible, but they are deeply felt. She has learned that the most meaningful revolutions are not those that seek to change the world, but those that change the way we see ourselves. And in doing so, she realizes that she has changed the world one quiet, authentic act at a time. For her, that is enough. Becoming is a journey, not a destination. It is the continuous unfolding of who you are, a process of growth, change, and discovery. It is not a straight path, but a winding one, filled with moments of uncertainty, triumph, doubt, and clarity. The beauty of becoming lies in its very imperfection, in the idea that you are not meant to have it all figured out, but are instead invited to explore, to stumble, to rise, and to learn. The woman who becomes her own hero understands this deeply. She embraces the truth that life is not about reaching some final version of herself, but about evolving into the truest expression of her being. At the heart of becoming is the courage to let go. She learns that she cannot grow while clinging to old stories, beliefs, or roles that no longer serve her. Letting go is not easy. It requires a kind of surrender, a willingness to release the familiar even when it feels safe. But she understands that clinging to what no longer fits is like holding onto a rope that burns her hands. To grow, she must open her grip, even if her palms feel raw. And in letting go, she discovers something extraordinary, the space to become. This process of becoming also asks her to face the unknown. The path ahead is rarely clear, and the steps she takes often feel uncertain, but she begins to see the unknown not as something to fear, but as a blank canvas upon which she can paint her life. There is freedom in not knowing exactly where she is going. It allows her to experiment, to try, to fail, and to try again. She realizes that failure is not the opposite of becoming, but an integral part of it. Each misstep teaches her something new, each fall makes her rise stronger, and each detour brings her closer to herself. In her journey, she learns to embrace the dualities of life. Becoming is not a linear ascent, it is a dance between progress and pause, between striving and resting, between certainty and doubt. She understands that she can hold both joy and sorrow, strength and vulnerability, confidence and uncertainty. These opposites do not cancel each other out, they create a fuller, richer picture of who she is. She does not need to be one thing or the other. She is allowed to be everything at once, a complex and beautiful work in progress. As she navigates this journey, she begins to see herself with new eyes. The woman she is becoming is not perfect, but she is real. She carries her scars not as marks of shame, but as symbols of her resilience. She values her growth not by how much she has achieved, but by how deeply she has come to know herself. She understands that the destination is not a polished, flawless version of herself, but a woman who is deeply alive, authentic, and whole. She does not seek to arrive, but to awaken to the beauty of who she is at every step. Becoming also means learning to be gentle with herself. She lets go of the harsh inner critic that demands perfection and instead chooses self-compassion. She begins to treat herself as she would a dear friend, offering kindness, patience, and understanding. She realizes that growth is not about rushing or forcing, but about allowing. Just as a seed does not bloom overnight, she understands that her transformation takes time. And in that time, she learns to celebrate not just the milestones, but the small, quiet moments of progress along the way. Perhaps the most beautiful realization she comes to is this: becoming is not about changing into someone else, but about uncovering who she already is. The woman she seeks to become has always been within her, waiting to be seen, heard, and embraced. Each step she takes is not about adding something new, but about peeling back the layers to reveal her truest self. She learns to trust this process, knowing that every challenge, every moment of doubt, and every step forward is shaping her into the person she is meant to be. In the end, she discovers that becoming is not something she achieves, it is something she lives. It is in the way she chooses to show up each day, the way she learns and grows, the way she forgives herself for her missteps, and the way she honors her journey. The beauty of becoming is that it never ends. It is an ongoing invitation to live fully, to embrace change, and to step into the fullness of who she is. And in that endless unfolding, she finds her greatest joy. Courage is a remarkable force, not because of its grandeur, but because of its quiet, transformative power. It is not always loud or dramatic often. It begins as a single act, a decision to face fear, to rise after a fall, or to speak a truth that has long been silenced. What makes courage extraordinary is that it doesn't stop with the person who finds it. Like ripples spreading across the surface of a still lake, courage moves outward, touching lives in ways that are often unseen but deeply felt. The woman who becomes her own hero understands this ripple effect. She knows that by stepping into her own power, she inspires others to do the same, not through words alone, but through the authenticity of her actions. Her courage may begin with a small act, setting a boundary, leaving a toxic situation, or daring to pursue a dream she has kept hidden. These moments, though they may seem insignificant, carry immense weight. They signal to the world that she is no longer bound by fear or limitation. And as she takes these steps, those around her begin to take notice, not because she demands their attention, but because the quiet strength she exudes resonates deeply. Her courage becomes a mirror, reflecting back the potential for bravery in others. One of the most profound truths about courage is that it is contagious. When someone witnesses another stepping into their power, it plants a seed of possibility within them. It whispers, "If she can do it, so can I." The woman who becomes her own hero does not set out to inspire others, but she does so naturally. Her journey becomes a beacon of hope, showing that it is possible to rise above adversity, to embrace one's true self, and to live authentically. In this way, her courage creates a chain reaction, sparking bravery in those who might have thought themselves incapable of it. The ripple effect of courage does not require grand gestures. It can be as simple as sharing a story, admitting vulnerability, or standing firm in one's values. When she speaks her truth, even if her voice shakes, she gives permission for others to do the same. When she shows up for herself, even on the days when it feels impossibly hard, she reminds those around her that they, too, can persevere. Her courage becomes a quiet revolution, spreading not through force, but through example. This ripple effect extends far beyond what she can see or measure. She may never know how her actions impact others, how her decision to chase her dreams might inspire a friend to pursue their own, or how her refusal to settle for less might encourage a stranger to demand more from life. The beauty of courage is that its influence is often invisible, yet undeniably powerful. Each act of bravery, no matter how small, contributes to a larger wave of change. The woman who becomes her own hero also understands that courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to move forward in spite of it. This understanding is what makes her relatable to others. She does not pretend to be fearless or invincible. She embraces her humanity, showing that courage is something we all possess, even when we feel most vulnerable. Her willingness to face her fears reminds others that they, too, have the strength to confront their own. What makes the ripple effect of courage so transformative is that it transcends boundaries. It moves across generations, inspiring not only those who witness it directly, but also those who come after. A mother's courage to break cycles of pain can empower her children to live more freely. A leader's bravery to stand up for what is right can inspire a community to do the same. Courage has a way of multiplying, growing stronger as it moves outward. In her journey, the woman who becomes her own hero discovers that courage is not a finite resource. The more she draws upon it, the more it expands. And the more she shares it, the more it spreads. This realization shifts her perspective. Her courage is no longer just for herself, but for the world around her. By stepping into her own power, she becomes a catalyst for change, a spark that ignites bravery in others. Ultimately, the ripple effect of courage is a testament to our interconnectedness. Each act of bravery, no matter how personal it may seem, has the potential to touch countless lives. The woman who chooses to live courageously understands that her journey is part of something much larger. She does not walk her path in isolation, but as part of a greater tapestry, where her courage inspires and is inspired by the courage of others. In this way, she becomes both the source and the recipient of a powerful, unending ripple of bravery. And through this ripple, the world is forever changed. There comes a moment in life when a quiet, powerful realization emerges: enough is enough. It is not born out of anger or resentment, but out of a deep recognition of self-worth. Saying enough is an act of liberation, a declaration that the things which no longer serve you, be they expectations, relationships, or old stories, are no longer welcome to dictate your life. The power of saying enough lies not just in what it removes, but in what it makes room for: a life lived on your own terms, free from the weight of what has been holding you back. The woman who becomes her own hero understands this power. Her journey does not begin with a dramatic change, it begins with an internal shift. She realizes that she has been carrying burdens that are not hers to bear, following rules that do not align with her truth, and living a life shaped more by others' demands than her own desires. In this moment, she chooses to pause and ask, what am I no longer willing to accept? The answer becomes the foundation for her transformation. Saying enough is not an easy choice. It requires courage to confront the parts of life that feel comfortable, even if they are stifling. It requires strength to face the fear of what might happen if she lets go. But she understands that staying in a place of compromise is far more dangerous than stepping into the unknown. She knows that to say enough is not to abandon others, but to reclaim herself. And so she takes the first step. This declaration often begins in small ways. It might be as simple as saying no to an invitation that does not feel right, or setting a boundary with someone who has taken too much for too long. Each act of resistance builds her confidence. She starts to realize that her worth is not tied to her ability to please others or meet their expectations. With every enough she speaks, she becomes more aligned with her truth, and the chains of obligation begin to loosen. Saying enough also requires her to face the internal voices that resist change. These voices whisper doubts. What if you regret this? What if you're being selfish? But she learns to quiet them with a more profound truth. Self-respect is never selfish. She understands that by valuing her own needs, she is not taking away from others, but setting an example of what it means to live authentically. This realization empowers her to stand firm, even when her choices are misunderstood by others. As she continues to say enough, something remarkable happens. She begins to see the life she truly desires coming into focus. The space left by what she has released becomes fertile ground for growth. She discovers new passions, deeper connections, and a sense of peace that she had not known before. Her life starts to reflect who she is, not who she was told to be. This transformation is not about perfection or achieving every goal. It is about living in alignment with her values and honoring her boundaries. The ripple effect of saying enough extends beyond her own life. Her courage inspires others to examine their own lives and ask similar questions. By witnessing her transformation, they begin to see the possibility of their own. This is the quiet, powerful revolution she ignites, not through grand gestures, but through the authenticity of her choices. She becomes a reminder that it is never too late to choose yourself, to demand more from life, and to walk away from what no longer serves you. Saying enough does not mean the absence of struggle. There will still be challenges, moments of doubt, and times when the weight of the world feels heavy. But the difference is that she now carries only what is hers, and this makes all the difference. Her energy is no longer drained by trying to meet impossible standards or fix unfixable situations. Instead, it is directed toward building a life that feels true to her. In the end, the power of saying enough is not just about drawing a line, it is about stepping into a new chapter. It is about choosing yourself when the world has taught you to put others first. It is about reclaiming your voice, even when it trembles. And it is about trusting that by saying no to what doesn't serve you, you are saying yes to something far greater, a life of freedom, authenticity, and self-respect. This is the life the woman who became her own hero chooses, not because it is easy, but because it is worth it. Self-love is a concept often misunderstood. It is not about arrogance or self-centeredness, but about the quiet, profound act of honoring who you are. It is a reflection of how you see yourself, and like a mirror, it reveals everything: your joys, fears, imperfections, and beauty. The woman who becomes her own hero knows that her journey begins not with seeking validation from the world, but with looking inward and finding it within herself. The mirror of self-love is her guide, showing her not just who she is, but who she has the power to become. Looking into this mirror is not always easy. It requires her to face parts of herself she has been taught to hide or reject. She confronts insecurities and doubts that have been shaped by the world's expectations, messages telling her she is too much or not enough. At first, the reflection may feel uncomfortable, even painful, but she learns that self-love is not about denying these parts of herself. Instead, it is about embracing them, understanding that her imperfections are not flaws, but unique aspects of her humanity. As she continues to look into this mirror, she begins to see something extraordinary: her own worth. This worth is not tied to achievements, appearance, or others' approval. It is intrinsic, unshakable, and constant. She realizes that she does not need to be perfect to be deserving of love, her own or anyone else's. This realization is transformative. It allows her to release the need for external validation and instead find peace and strength within. The mirror of self-love also teaches her the importance of boundaries. When she truly values herself, she no longer allows others to treat her in ways that diminish her. She learns to say no without guilt, to walk away from relationships or situations that drain her, and to protect her time and energy. These acts of self-preservation are not selfish, they are essential. By honoring her needs, she reinforces the message that she is worthy of respect, not just from others, but from herself. Self-love, she discovers, is not a destination but a practice. It is something she must choose every day, especially on the days when she feels least deserving of it. She learns to speak kindly to herself, to forgive her mistakes, and to celebrate her progress no matter how small. These acts of self-compassion build a foundation of inner strength, allowing her to face life's challenges with grace and resilience. Through this journey, the mirror of self-love becomes more than a reflection, it becomes a lens through which she views the world. When she loves herself, she is better able to give love to others not from a place of sacrifice, but from a place of abundance. Her relationships deepen, her confidence grows, and her life begins to reflect the beauty of her inner transformation. The unknown is often seen as a source of fear, a space filled with uncertainty and doubt. It is the unmarked territory where outcomes are unclear and the familiar comforts of routine fade away. Yet within this uncertainty lies immense potential, a space where growth, discovery, and transformation await. The woman who becomes her own hero understands that the unknown is not something to be avoided, but something to be embraced. She knows that life's greatest possibilities often lie just beyond the edges of certainty. Embracing the unknown begins with a shift in perspective. Instead of viewing uncertainty as a threat, she chooses to see it as an opportunity. This mindset does not come naturally, it requires courage and trust. The unknown asks her to release the need for control and to accept that not every answer will come immediately. She learns to let go of the illusion of predictability and to lean into the mystery of what might be. In doing so, she discovers that uncertainty is not an obstacle but a canvas, offering infinite possibilities for creation. This journey into the unknown is not without its challenges. Fear often arises, whispering doubts and urging her to retreat to what feels safe. But she recognizes that fear is not a sign to stop, it is a signal that she is stepping into new territory. Rather than allowing fear to paralyze her, she chooses to let it guide her. She asks herself, what lies on the other side of this fear? What could I gain if I dare to move forward? These questions become her compass, helping her navigate the unfamiliar with intention and grace. The unknown also teaches her patience. It does not yield its answers quickly or easily. She must learn to sit with the discomfort of not knowing, trusting that clarity will come in its own time. This patience allows her to remain open to possibilities she might not have considered if she had rushed to find solutions. In the stillness of waiting, she discovers insights and strengths she didn't know she possessed. She begins to see that the unknown is not empty, it is a space rich with potential, waiting for her to step forward and claim it. As she embraces the unknown, she becomes more attuned to the present moment. She understands that clinging to the past or worrying about the future only distracts from what is unfolding right now. The unknown invites her to fully experience life as it is, with all its unpredictability and beauty. In doing so, she finds a sense of freedom, a release from the constraints of expectation and the weight of what-ifs. The woman who embraces the unknown discovers something profound. It is in uncertainty that she finds herself. Each step she takes into uncharted territory reveals more of who she is and what she is capable of. She realizes that life's greatest gifts often come not from knowing what lies ahead, but from having the courage to walk forward anyway. By welcoming the unknown, she transforms fear into possibility, and in doing so, she becomes the artist of her own life. Breaking chains is an act of liberation, a declaration that the weight of constraints, whether imposed by society circumstances or the self, will no longer define a person's life. It is a bold step, one that requires both courage and clarity, to recognize what binds you and summon the strength to break free. For the woman who becomes her own hero, breaking chains is not just an act of rebellion, it is a profound act of self-empowerment, a reclaiming of her right to live authentically and on her own terms. The first step in breaking chains is acknowledging their existence. Often these chains are invisible, woven from the expectations of others, cultural norms, or inherited beliefs. They can take the form of self-doubt, guilt, or the fear of judgment. For years, she may have carried their weight without questioning it, thinking it was simply part of life. But there comes a moment when she pauses and asks herself, is this truly who I am? This question sparks a shift. It opens her eyes to the limitations she has been living under and gives her the courage to imagine a different way.